do that again.
Okay, so today I wanted to shift a little bit out of such sciencey information. Yesterday we were doing a lot of science stuff and the physiology of the stress and nervous system response. And today we're going to talk a little bit about that. I want to link to it and then move on and go into like the spiritual frame of how you can, look at your body and your health in your life. So having said that, let me start to pull up. The first thing that I want to pull up here, this may or may not be new information for people, but this is a chart that shows you how different organs of your body are related to certain emotions. And this is actually strongly upheld in Chinese medicine. Is this new for you, Julie?
Nope, I've seen it. I work with a chiropractor that does, he really doesn't do the traditional methods. He works on your energy. And he always talks about my liver's kind of my hang up.
Okay, great. So hi, Mandy, how are you? Mandy just jumped.
Good, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you could get on. So we just started, Mandy. I was waiting for a few minutes to see who else might come. But this chart, I don't know if this is new for you, but this is a correlation between certain emotions that we have in our body and the organs that they affect. So it's not like if we get angry this afternoon, that now we're going to have an issue. Here comes Kathy. Hi, Kathy. That we'll have an issue with the liver. It's when we stay in these emotions. Kathy, we just started talking about now relating emotions to certain organs in the body. And this chart shows you that the green is the primary emotion. I'm sorry, there might be one or two. It looks like it's actually each one of them have two. And then two places in the body that it affects. So the green would be the primary, and then the yellow would be secondary or in addition to, I would say. So anger, liver, when I work with detoxing with clients, we do a lot of actually releasing emotions as well, looking at where am I holding anger. So that's a common one. But I just think it's interesting also to notice a lot of people have gut issues, right? So when we look at large intestine, which would be the colon, sadness and depression, or worry and anxiety, stomach, and the pancreas is part of digestion. So we've got liver and gallbladder part of digestion, anger and frustration. And then these two obviously are detoxification, so fear and anger. So we have, to me, a lot of overlapping of different organs that need to work together and these emotions that can really affect them. So we're going to move into more of the emotional and spiritual part of this. So let me go now into the next thing I want to show you. So that was one, and I can send you, or I can post copies of these, but it's still showing me that other one. Okay. So can you see this here? No, you only probably see it as part, right? There.
I can make it a little bigger.
Mm-hmm. Can I make it bigger? How do I do that?
No, I can. We can. All right.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. This one I can make bigger too. That makes it too big. We're going to look at this in a second. But this chart, these are the primary emotions that people just quickly go to: fear, anger, sadness, happiness, surprise, disgust. But each one of them has multiple sort of multi-layered, or it could be diluted, or just harder to tease out exactly what you're feeling. But if that's what this chart is showing, that when the base emotion is fear, that you might feel all of these. You might feel humiliated, right? Like at school, you are called up in front of the room to talk and you're scared, and then you feel humiliated when you're up there. Or it might show up as rejection, right? And then even further out are these emotions. So it's just helpful when we start to look at the emotions and where we spend a lot of our time. It's not always as obvious as these really stronger ones. It might be more out here. Okay, so that's how they're related. And then what I would love to do, can I bring this over? Click on this and get rid of it. Okay. Then, can you see this? Oh, screen sharing has stopped. Let me go back. So this is now a chart. Can everybody see this?
Yep.
Okay. If I make it bigger, I think it gets too big. This is a level of consciousness chart. So it is related to emotions. It's also related to your view of the world and the consciousness that you are living your life in. So let me go through that a little bit. And then we're going to talk about emotional frequencies. And then we're going to get into the healing codes, which if you had a chance to do your home questionnaire, we'll get into all of that in just a minute. But the emotions here are in the middle. So emotions like blame, regret, anxiety, or also over here on the left-hand side, this is saying what level you're in. So again, it's sort of relating to those main emotions in the middle of that other wheel chart, and then some extenuating out. So anger, that would be a level of consciousness that you stay at. I don't know about you, but I spent a lot of time in anger. I was angry a lot for a lot of different reasons, and fearful, definitely fearful when my daughter was born, and how was I going to manage that? Was she going to survive? What did we have to deal with? The money of all the medical bills, all of that. So when somebody, let's just stick with that one because I think it's easy enough for people to relate to. When people are living in any of these yellow emotions, when you're spending a lot of time, and again, it's normal as a human being to have any of these. We don't want to overstay our welcome. But when we are living life from fear or any of these, life feels like it has to be forced. We are forcing life rather than allowing life. We are forcing our health. We are forcing our relationships. It feels like a lot of work when we're in any of these lower levels of consciousness. This is from David Hawkins, actually put this together, if you've ever heard of him.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah. David
I
Hawkins.
love his stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where this is his chart.
Okay.
So he correlates these numbers here is an emotional frequency.
Frequency, yeah.
So for people who like this is new information for, everything, every cell in our body, everything that exists has an energetic frequency to it. So even if you could go, and the technology does exist, that you can go down at a cellular level, even into the atoms, which is the smallest component of the cell, you would see space between the atoms and you would see energy. There's no place where it's solid and you can't get through, even if it's at the tiniest level. There's some space with an energetic frequency, and the energy is information. So every cell in our body is vibrating at a particular frequency. And that's what these numbers are, is what are the frequencies that we're vibrating at. So when we have these, I'm not going to even say positive versus negative, like that these are positive emotions up here and these are negative. They're all human emotions. It's just when we stay stuck here and we're feeling like life is really hard and we're putting a lot of force into trying to make things happen. I'm just checking my email for people because it's lighting up for who can't get in. Yeah, Kathy, the link didn't, I don't know why, this is your email. I don't know why it didn't work. We sent out 3 test emails and they worked. So anyway, I apologize. But when you're living down here, this is the frequency that the energy waves are moving at in your cells. So you can see these are very heavy, slow frequencies. In fact, shame, I just think it's so interesting that shame is the lowest.
That is.
I would think fear or even anger, but anger has energy to it. Like when somebody's really angry, they, action there. Shame is really pulling you down. And what's also interesting is we can measure the energetic field around any person or any object. Even non-living things have an energetic field. And crocodiles have an energy field of 20. So somebody who is holding shame could be from 50 years ago. they have an energetic frequency that's like equivalent to like this prehistoric animal, because to me crocodiles look prehistoric. So it, when I, for me, when I start to see it like that, it's like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Like walking around in our life, the heaviness that life can feel, the difficulty of making things happen when we're stuck here. And if you look over here on the right, it says life view. So what's the view of life? You know, somebody who's living with a lot of shame feels miserable. That's how they actually see life. When you're in fear, you're afraid of everything and you have constant anxiety. So, you know, the processes that you're going through in life, this column here. So when you're living in fear, you withdraw. You don't put yourself out there. You stay where you're safe, right? That's withdrawal. When you're living in anger, that's aggression. That's like the guy who's always doing road rage, you know, out on the road. Everywhere he goes, it's an aggressive, and his life view is antagonistic. When
Yeah.
okay, is this making sense for everybody?
Yes.
Okay. When you start to get to the levels of 200 and above, you start to shift out of living life from a place of force, living with these heavy energies, and now you start to get some power. You get power in causing your relationships, you get power in moving through your health issues. Your body is going to start to be able to handle its health issues. You're going to experience your job, maybe figure out your purpose in life, all of those things when you start to get above. And so when somebody's really stuck in these lower levels, it may be too big of a jump. If you're in shame, you may not get to acceptance. It may be an improvement to get from shame to anger, right? Like instead of feeling shame and holding myself down, now I'm going to be angry about what happened to me in the past rather than shameful. And then from anger, I can get to being neutral about it. And eventually I can even get to accepting it, forgiving, and moving up. We have to be willing and ready and want to move up through these levels of consciousness. If we're committed to being right, if we're committed to what happened to us shouldn't have happened, and I'm going to hold on to the damage that it did to me, then we have a lot of trouble moving up. So it takes some willingness and some consciousness to say, I want to start to live in these upper levels of consciousness. But it's up here that your body, your physical body, can start to release the stuckness of the stress in these energetic frequencies. So I know, Barb, you just came on, so you didn't see the first picture that I put on, but it was a correlation, and I did record it so you can watch it, but it was a correlation between different organs and the emotions. So you can actually see what organs are being affected by the different emotions that if you're holding on to them. Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. So we, you know, I want to live in a place where love is prevalent, where I feel like I have meaning to my life, where I feel harmonious with people. I feel like I'm letting things go. My emotions are, you know, peace, joy, things like that, feeling love. I would say that Jesus, Buddha, Gandhi, maybe Mother Teresa, those people were able to get themselves up into these higher levels. Certainly enlightenment, that's like a Buddha term, right? But getting themselves up to where they're constantly just letting go of what's happening and getting their body and their view and their energy. It's really getting your energy up into these lighter, very light, fast, with ease, you move through life, very powerful energy frequencies. So any questions on that before we move on? Okay.
No, I'm guessing you're going to tell us how we can get to the blue.
Sure.
Have to
Yeah.
get, yeah. Okay.
Well, all of the things that we're talking about. So if you remember yesterday, the heart math, it was a lot of science maybe, but it was about realizing that your stress, and it was emotions, right? They talked about emotions in the different slides that I shared with you, how that keeps your body stuck in fight or flight. So that's a tool to start to use your breathing to actually
Yeah.
release the physiology of your body. So you need to be willing to release the emotions, and there's ways to actually move emotion out of your body, and you need to shift the physiology, and you want to be willing to let go. And if you are familiar with David Hawkins, he has a book called Letting Go. In fact, I have all three of his books.
Mhm.
I'll show you.
Mhm.
None of these are easy reading. I'm just going to tell the truth about it. None of them are easy, but
No, it's really deep stuff. You
it's
know, you have to read things over and over to really get the understanding. I do
this is
anyway.
a map of, me too. This is the map of consciousness, which is, this chart here, but it's, he's passed away, an MD, PhD, director of the Institute for Spiritual Research, on and on and on, clinician, physician, scientist, author. So you can go on YouTube and see a lot of his interviews, but it's heavy reading. So this goes into all of these energetic frequencies and levels of consciousness. This book is called Letting Go, very powerful book of his. Talks about, and when I work with clients, we actually use his letting go technique. But again, there's no pictures. It's a lot of work, and it's sciencey, but I think so interesting. But the power of letting go and how that affects our body and our life. And then this last book is called Power versus Force. And again, it's just talking about, are you living in a place where you're trying to force your life and life feels very hard, and you feel stuck? Or are you living in a place where there's power? So if you're interested, any of the books are great. And I actually think Letting Go is also, maybe they all are on Audible. If you're not a reader, but you like to listen, maybe while you're doing whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's read by him, which could put you to sleep. So I did listen to Letting Go on Audible, and I found I had to like keep stopping and re-listening because I would get sort of whatever. But yeah, really great. So okay, let me just stop screen sharing. Oh, hi, Eden, I didn't even see you were here. So putting that all together, I want to just go a little bit to the healing codes. Was anybody able to open up that document? Did you do it? Did you get your, okay. So the healing codes are a spiritual perspective of how to help this whole process. So there's multiple ways that you want to go at it. The healing codes, really designed by a man named Dr. Alexander Lloyd. So he's a PhD and a doctor. And then Dr. Ben Johnson, I have the book here. I'm the queen of books. If there's a book you want, I probably have it. Ben Johnson is an oncologist, really, a cancer doctor, and they got together to really work and create this. But it's really Dr. Lloyd's work on the understanding now that a lot of conventional medicine is also accepting, because enough institutions have done the research on it, that stress is our biggest problem. And stress, if we can shift how stressed we are, if we can shift our response to stressors and get our immune system back, that all chronic illnesses would, you'd heal from them. You would be able to reverse them, and also the other things in your life. So, the premise that the immune system that God gave us is the most magnificent thing, that there's nothing better on earth than our immune system. And the number one thing to derail it is stress. And the number one way to fix that is through the heart. So they have nothing to do with heart math, but they actually come to right back to the same conclusion: is the heart is the core of what's going to get you well and get your life where you want it to be. And so the healing codes say, I'm going to use the light and the love of God. So they're very clear. This is using God's source. This is using, they're Christian, so, but it doesn't mean you have to be Christian. You do, but I do think you have to believe in that source, that love, that universal energy, whatever you want to call it, God, whether you have a Christian, Jesus Christ, or another perspective that you look at it, but it's using that source and saying, I have access to that source and I'm going to call it into my life and I'm going to use it as part of my healing. So, what's so interesting about these two gentlemen is Dr. Lloyd's wife suffered from depression, serious depression for 12 years. Like at big chunks of time, she was non-functional, had done lots of prescriptions, different medications, different therapies, was not able to recover from her depression. And that was, I think, what really spurred him to start to figure out how else can we come at this, because it's not working. What we're doing is not working. And so he worked on developing just really prayer and getting her to let go, and the codes I'm going to share, and we're going to do a healing code together on this class. So I'm going to share that with you. But Ben Johnson, the other doctor, the cancer doctor, actually came to Dr. Lloyd after he heard about the healing codes because he was suffering from ALS. So you all know what ALS is. It's a, very degenerative, not a good prognosis. And he had heard about, I guess, both of them being in the medical field, and he was trying to find other ways than just prescriptions that were going to manage his symptoms. And he met with Dr. Lloyd and he worked on healing codes. And I think when they wrote this book, he was completely symptom and medication free of ALS for like 4 years. So, and that was several years ago when they wrote it. So what he knew as a cancer doctor was that his cancer patients, they were getting chemotherapy, they were getting whatever they were getting, but if they stayed fearful, if they stayed angry, if they stayed overstressed, they died. Eventually they got to the point where there was no coming back. And so he saw that as in his own work. And so when he got his diagnosis, he was like, I think I need to take a look at this. So the two of them together really put this book out, but it's really Dr. Lloyd's work over time. So the healing codes say, we're going to use the light and the love of God. We're going to ask for that to come in, number one. We're also going to work on our emotions. So it's, again, coming back to the heart. Just like heart math says, put your hands on your heart, get connected to your heart, think of appreciation, care, concern, something like that. Healing codes, same thing. You create a love image. So you want to, before you start healing codes, and I did the healing codes, I actually got a healing codes coach myself, and then I started using healing codes with my clients. But when I was doing it myself to heal, the love image that I used in my mind, and you can use anything that works for you. You want to get to the feeling of love. And if you've been very traumatized, if you've been chronically stressed, it can be difficult to find love, like to really feel it. So you've got to find, it might be a memory that you have, or you might have to make something up. But for me, this is what I imagine. I imagine I'm in Jesus' lap, and Jesus is really big, like not as big as the Lincoln Memorial, but big, so he's not like man size in my imagination. He's big enough that me as an adult can be in his lap and feel like enveloped. You know what I'm saying? Right? So it's like this, maybe like Hagrid from Harry Potter. If you ever watched Harry Potter, right? Like, bigger than a normal man. And I sit in Jesus' lap. I get this picture in my mind, and I have both of my babies. They're both babies, not my 19-year-old son or my 15-year-old daughter. It's my two babies, and they're in my lap. So Jesus has all three of us, right? This is the picture that I do. And I just start to really imagine, like, first I get present to loving my babies, like when they were born, like that. If you are a mother, that moment when that baby is, like, I could cry right now, right? It's like mind blowing. Like, oh my God, I didn't know what love was until I got this, right? So I get present to that. And my daughter is healthy in my imagination because I didn't get to hold her when she was first born, but in my picture, she's perfect. And both of them are on my lap. And so I'm sending them love, and then he's sending me love, right? So it's like this circle that I just start to imagine. It takes me 30 seconds, to just picture it, look at a picture of them or whatever, and I'm there, right? So I get myself there. That's your love picture. And you want to be willing to release anything that you do remember or that you don't remember. You don't have to remember stuff. You don't have to call up memories from childhood if you don't want to. You don't have to go into specific things, but you're going to say and you're going to mean it in your prayer that the light and the love of God is going to heal all known or unknown unhealthy beliefs that I'm holding, stored memories in my body. I'm going to give you the exact prayer that I just use from when I learned healing codes. I just stick with it because it works for me. But you can change the wording. It's the intention that you're calling in the light and the love of God while you're present to the emotion of love. That's what we're trying to do. Okay. So you can also imagine like you're driving through a neighborhood with Jesus, with your love, whatever, and your headlights are shining on every door in the neighborhood. And those doors are your memories. Those doors are the things that have happened to you. Some of the doors might open and you might see a person there, and you remember that fourth grade teacher that I remember in third grade when I wet my pants in Jim's class. I'm not kidding. I asked to go to the bathroom a million times. She wouldn't let me go. Now at the end of class, we're online. I couldn't hold it anymore. Like Mrs. Stout is standing there in my neighborhood, right? You just remember the things. That's a silly one because I want to keep it light. There's certainly heavy memories that we may have. There might be doors that don't open, and that's a memory that you don't want to actually see the face or go in there, but it's still part of your neighborhood. It's still part of where you're going to shine the light of God's love. Am I making sense? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So then once you've sort of have all that, you've got your love image, you're sort of imagining I'm going to go into my past, my neighborhood, whatever I'm willing to see or not see. You would then say your prayer. And the prayer is typically like, I pray that the light and the love of God be with me, in me, and all around me, and heal, again, any unhealthy beliefs. Tomorrow we're going to talk about beliefs, but unhealthy beliefs, stored negative memories, cellular damage of anything known or unknown in my past, in my ancestry, because we get damage passed down to us genetically, healed, released, restored through the light and the love of God. And I pray that this healing happens 100 times more effectively than I could ever imagine. You could change the words, but something along those lines, right? So you're calling in the light and the love of God. So that's the prayer that you start with. Now, when we do the codes, we're going to use our hands as like pointers. So you're creating these 4 fingers and your thumb like a pointer. And we're going to use your hands. You're not going to touch your body. I'm going to show you 4 places just as an initial. There are other places where you do touch, but for today we're going to do 4, and you don't touch. So you're holding like, a half a distance, here. So you're creating an arc, like a spark plug for your energy to move. So kind of like if you did this right now with your hands, just rub them together and then pull them apart and hold them like this close. And then do you start to feel a little closer, Kathy, a little closer, like this close? Do you start to feel, can you feel energy between your two hands? Okay. So that's why you're not touching, but there's an energy field that you just stirred up. That's what we're doing. We're tapping into that energy field that's around your body, Julie. So I think you were gone for a minute, but you're going to take your pointers and you're going to hold like about that far apart from your body. And we're going to use 4 places to start. The first place is like where the pineal gland is. The pineal gland is really, in a lot of cultures, it's the place where we connect to God and to the divine. We get information into our pineal gland. So that's going to be the first place where you're going to hold. The second place is going to be here at your Adam's apple. The third place is going to be like at the where your jaw bends, and that's where the vagus nerve comes down. The vagus nerve governs or dominates the parasympathetic nervous system, if you remember from yesterday. So we want to get energy going in that nerve. And then the number 4 is your temples. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll go through those probably 3 times. And you stay at each place for 30 to 45 seconds because you want the energy to move. Okay, you want the energy to move. And while we're there, we're going to say some statements. When we actually do this, you can shut off your video if you want to be private. I'll say the statements as an example. They don't have to be these statements, but they're statements that we call them truth statements because you want them to feel true to your body. So positive affirmations, a lot of people use positive affirmations, right? Like, so if you're having a health issue, I am healthy, whole, and complete. I am healthy, whole, and complete. That's a positive affirmation. But their body's like, no, you're not. The body's like, I'm not healthy. It doesn't feel true, right? Can you see the difference? Like, can you see how that is not a truth statement? It's a positive affirmation. It's sort of a feel good thing. And a lot of people walk around trying to be positive. I'm going to be positive. I'm going to say, but they don't believe it in here. Their subconscious beliefs are, So you want to pick statements that your body can get behind, that feel true. So a way to change that would be like, I am choosing to allow God's light and love to bring health into my body. That I could get behind that, right? I can say and feel like it's true that I'm choosing that. Very different than I'm healthy, whole, and complete. Meanwhile, you can't move, right? So you want to choose truth statements, and they can be around health. They can be around your life, relationships. They can be around what you do for a living or prosperity and abundance. I am choosing to receive abundance. I am choosing to have powerful conversations, however you want to say it. I start a lot of mine with I'm choosing because that really worked for me when I was doing my healing codes. Like it's anything is a choice, right? I can always choose this and that feels true. But it doesn't have to always be that. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll go through. So I'll say statements and then I'll tell you, okay, move to the next position, say some statements, 30 to 45 seconds, and you're feeling the love. You're feeling the love, you're releasing, right? But always try to keep that love and, imagine. I think I'll start with really having some things that you can visualize God's light and love. And then there'll be a little more like abstract things. So before we start, one last piece, and then we will do a healing code together. Pick something in your life right now that you would like to address. It's a challenge to you. It could be health. I know a lot of people follow me because I'm a health practitioner, but I also work with a lot of people on other parts of their life. You could feel challenged in a relationship or what's next for you in life. But whatever it is, think of that right now and rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. How impactful is this in your life right now? Would you give it an 8, a 9, a 10? And if anybody's willing to like share what they're dealing with or what they're going to work on, great. You don't have to. So now that issue, take a moment and think about, when you think about that issue, where do you feel it in your body? So, do you right away feel like, oh, my stomach gets knotted, or do you feel tension here? So you think about, where do I feel it in my body, or what emotion does it bring up? So I'm thinking about my health, the emotion is fear. Or I'm thinking about my marriage, the emotion is anger. Or where is it in your body? Either one is fine. Sometimes the emotion is something we can get to. Sometimes we're not sure the emotion, but we go to where it feels. Everybody got that?
Yep.
Okay. Now, go back in your mind in your memory to the earliest time that you remember feeling this way in your body or having a similar emotion. So I'm going to use myself so that nobody has to, share something, but I'm going to use myself so that you can see what I mean. So when I got so my issue was around like separated, divorced, being on my own. And the way so the emotion clearly was fear. And the emotion, I'm sorry, the emotion was fear. And in my body, my stomach, that's where fear always goes for me. So when I look, where did I feel, what's my earliest memory of either feeling this way or having that feeling in my body? And so when I was little, my mother died when I was 4. She had MS. And actually, from when I was born until she died, she was never really out of bed, right? We had a lot of babysitters. My father took us to a lot of different people, helped. And we used to go to this one babysitter's house, and they were fine. There was nothing wrong with them. This older couple that helped my dad, they lived around the corner from us. But I didn't really like being there. And my father was an alcoholic. I didn't know it when I was little. I know it now, but he was an alcoholic. And there were times when we were dropped off at the babysitter's and we were supposed to be picked up, like she was going to give us dinner and he was going to come after work, and he wouldn't come. So the babysitter would say, it was myself and my sister. So my sister is 4 years older than me. So any of those years up until I was 4, when my mother died, my father remarried when I was 5, but it could have been I was 2, I was 3, I was 4, anywhere in there. This is what was going on. So my sister and I would be at the babysitter's, and she would say, okay, girls, your dad's not coming. So I'm going to put you to bed, and he's going to come get you in the morning. And I have the same feeling when I remember that memory. It goes right to fear. Like, is he not coming? He's not coming. I'm alone. I really wasn't alone. I was with the babysitter and my sister, but I'm alone because I wanted my dad. And I used to cry. I remember crying. I remember the babysitter coming in and saying, why are you crying? It's fine. He's going to be here in the morning. So that's my memory, right? When I have this experience now where I'm fearful, oh no, I'm alone, it feels very much like that memory. I'm willing to have that memory. I remember it. You don't have to remember something that you don't want to, but you can just go to the feeling. So for me, when I was working on this, the emotion was a 10. Maybe an 8. I'm going to say an 8. Number, and when you were a child, your memory, give it a number. And just, you can write that down or remember it or whatever, because we're going to do the healing codes and then we're just going to look and see, did the number shift at all? Okay. So a reminder, and then we're going to get started. Now that you had to think of something that was upsetting, go back to thinking of something of love, and just get that love picture in your mind. Okay. Your fingers are like this. Number 1 is the pineal gland. Number 2 is the Adam's apple. Number 3 is the jaw. Number 4 is the temple. I'm going to start you with the prayer. I'm going to shut off my video as well so we can all just be in ourselves and be present to yourself.
What was
All
the
right.
third again? The third location?
So it's pineal gland front, like just above the center of your eyebrows, then your Adam's apple. Number 3 is at the bend of your jaw, like where your jawline bends at your, where it attaches. That's because, Barb, that's where the vagus nerve comes down from behind the ear and comes down into the neck. So we're actually, the energy there, when we put our fingers there, we're trying to stimulate the vagus nerve for calmness, okay? And then the 4th one is just outside your temples. So I'll tell you, we're going to go through all 4 3 times. You can say out loud, you can mute yourself and say out loud whatever I say, repeat after me, or you can say your own truth statements. You don't have to say what I say, okay? Whatever, it's really what feels right for your body. That's all it is. Okay, so let's start with our prayer. Heavenly Father, I pray that all known and unknown unhealthy beliefs, stored memories, cellular damage, negative imprints on my body, in my cells, in my heart, and in my spirit be removed, restored, and healed through your light, through your love, God. Heavenly Father, move your light and love through my body and my life and have full restoration and healing. And I pray that this healing happens 100 times more powerfully than I could ever imagine. Amen. Okay, put your hands, feeling love in your heart, get your love image, your hands on number 1. I am choosing now, Heavenly Father, to have your light and love come through me into every cell of my body, move in through the top of my head, move through my brain, down my spine, through all of my bones. Let your light and love move and bring healing and restoration into every muscle and joint. I am choosing to allow your light and love to move into my heart, into my thyroid, into my kidneys and liver. Clear out, Heavenly Father, with your light and love, any damage at a cellular level, anything that needs to be restored and removed. My digestive system, my hips, my knees, on down through my ankles and my feet. I am choosing to allow your light and love to bring healing and health to me now. Second position, I am choosing to allow God's light and love to be my guiding light in my life. I am choosing to allow His view of my life be the way that I see myself. I am choosing to allow God's light and love to shine on everyone around me so that I see them through His eyes. I am choosing to be a beacon of God's light and love in the world, in the people who live with me, for the people who live with me, for anyone that I deal with, that I show up as a light through God's light and healing. Number 3, by your jaw, I am choosing now to release any stored anger. I am choosing to allow all of those memories as far back as I can remember, and anything that I can't remember, to let them go out of my body. I am choosing to be open and present to being the wholeness, goodness, love that my spirit and soul intended to be when I came here. I am choosing that for myself and my life going forward. Number 4, by your temples. I am choosing to breathe in love with every breath. I am choosing to breathe out anger and upset and fear with every exhale. I am choosing to feel what I need to feel and to move through it and let it go. I am choosing to be an example of how God's light and love can heal my life and the world. Okay, back to first position. I am choosing now to let go of anything on my father's side, all the way back through his ancestors, anything that was passed down to me, any fear, any coding of not being good enough, of being unlovable, of being alone, anything that I got genetically before I was even born through my father's side of the family. Release it so that I show up as who I'm meant to be without any of that. Down to your Adam's apple. I am choosing now God's light and love to restore fullness and wholeness and remove anything from my mother's side, anything where doubt and fear, trust was a problem, anywhere where I learned that I wasn't good enough, anywhere that I got the message that I was unlovable, anywhere that I stopped myself from being who God wants me to be in this life and in this world. I am choosing to let it go and to be fully restored in my health and in my body and in my life. Okay, next position by your jaws. I am choosing now that all my conversations and all my relationships come from a place of compassion. I am choosing to be open-hearted with people. Whatever our relationship is, wherever it goes, that I can be open-hearted and compassionate in my conversation, in how I show up, and in how I see them. I am choosing to look at the people in my life through that love, the way that God sees them. Back to your temples. I am choosing to see myself filled with the light and the love of God. I am choosing to see every cell whole, full, restored, healthy, clear, moving and acting and functioning within my body, with every part of my body as the magnificent machine that God intended. Last time through, back to your forehead. I am choosing to be a conduit of that light and love and that healing in the world, starting with myself, starting with seeing myself whole and healthy and loving, and starting from there, moving out wherever I'm meant to touch people, wherever I'm meant to go, that I use and have God's light and love in me, with me, and all around me. And your throat, I am choosing now to be a powerful example of God's light and love and healing, and that I will see my body heal. I will see my relationships heal. I will see my life restored with abundance and joy because I'm allowing God's light and love in, and I'm letting go of my anger. I'm letting go of my damage. I'm letting go of those past memories. I'm letting go of the emotions that have kept me stuck. I choose to let them go, and I choose to do it now. Number 3, by your jaw, I am choosing God's light and love to be my North Star, so that the decisions that I make going forward come from what is right and not from where I think I'm right. I am choosing to let that light and love guide me. I am choosing compassion over anger. I am choosing love over fear. I am choosing health over illness. I am choosing relationship over abandonment. I am choosing God's light and love now. And then the last time, by your temples, I am opening my heart to the life and the health and the love that I'm meant to have. I'm opening my heart, seeing the breath going in and out of my heart, seeing it expand as I open it, and stop protecting it from the things in the past that I don't need to protect from anymore. I am healthy, whole, and complete as God's light and love moves through me. Bring your hands to your heart. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, just take a second and you can bring your videos back on if you want to, or you don't have to. So that took, I don't know, 4 minutes. Does anybody notice a difference now if they were to rate the issue that they chose before we started? Do you see a shift in the number that you would give that issue now? And it's fine if
Yes.
you do. Okay,
Yeah.
good. So what number was it before?
I started with a 10.
Okay. And where is it now?
And now I can say a 5.
Awesome. Okay, that's good. Great. That's like 50%. And
I
how
think so.
about when you look at your memory from childhood? Where did that number go?
Yeah, I started at an 8. And I could say a 5.
Okay, great. What we're doing, the memories, it's not like we forget what happened
No.
to us, but what we're doing is there's that energetic frequency, right, of fear, of whatever it is, anger, abandonment. When we bring the love frequency, we actually, it's like mirroring the opposite direction. So you end up with a flat line. You end up with nothing. You end up with no past that's creating your future because you negate the energetic frequency of whatever was the original problem. Because that's what happens is that original, my father's not coming to pick me up, because it was still in my body. Anytime I had a similar thing that made me feel the same way, I was back in that same place energetically, with my emotions and with my body. So what we want to do is clear and heal that memory so that it doesn't have that energetic impact on our body. Does that make sense?
Totally. Yes.
Okay. So again, it's a very, the words that I use are very Christian because I'm Christian. You don't have to be Christian. I think that you do want to be able to feel like you can tap into universal love if you don't want to use the word God, or if you don't want to use Jesus Christ. I'm just out of habit. I always say through Jesus' name, amen, like at the end. That's like an automatic for me, but you don't have to. Barb, how about you?
I just wanted to ask, now, if my thing is pain, physical pain, do you find that maybe harder to reduce?
No.
No?
No. It's only, Barbara,
Because
if you think physical pain is the hardest thing, it's going to be the hardest thing. It's all about how much you really believe, and then that'll have the difference. But physical pain, emotional pain, relationship pain, it's all the same. You're feeling your physical pain, and I get that you're in a lot of pain, and so you may be feeling like, I'm not buying it. This pain is worse than any other pain that I could have. And I get that. But I promise you, the man recovered from ALS. Like, I don't know what else to say, right? Like, but here, when I was doing healing codes, and I do it with my clients now when I work with them, 3 months, 3 times a day. Like, you're not gonna heal a chronic health condition doing it a couple times a week, right? It's a constant, like, releasing, clearing, asking, healing, breathing, using the heart math breathing. There's multiple things. I think they all come into play. The other thing that I think is, I'm just going to share this with you because I taught you this so that you can go use it in your life, and I hope that you do. And you might feel stuff come up from it, just like when you detox your liver. You go through a detox and now you're tired, or you might have pain. I remember telling my healing codes coach, and if you remember, I went through specifically my father's side and my mother's side. you want to do that. We got things genetically from our parents. You know, if you look at, Holocaust, people who are descendants of the Holocaust, they measure with real medical instruments the stress in those generations, and they have like PTSD even though they never lived through anything, because it gets passed down just like the color of your hair and the way that you laugh, and you know whatever else gets passed down, so does the trauma. So things get passed down genetically, and then also the beliefs. So when your parents say, whatever they say, I'm trying to think of some, my father used to say stuff like, money doesn't grow on trees. So now I have a scarcity mindset of life is hard, right? We learn what gets passed down, and we actually get in our genetic code. And that's what we're trying to release. And there's a lot of work. This may sound very new to you. Um, and I hope if it does that you ponder on it and maybe do some more research, but there's a lot of work now about generational healing and ancestral healing. Women, just as women throughout history, being, I'm going to say, second class citizens, and the wounding that women have, other races, Black people, a lot of people are like, oh, come on, get over it. It's 2020 and slavery was 200 years ago. But generationally, that fear and everything else, the not good enough, families being ripped apart, that trauma, that gets passed down, and it has not been healed. Nobody's healing that. They're just telling them to shut up. So same thing, we're feeling what got passed down, and that some of it has happened since we were born. There's studies that show when you're in the womb, if your mother is upset. So my mother had MS, was told, don't have another child, you can't have a healthy pregnancy. I heard the story a million times growing up. My grandfather used to tell me almost every time I visited him, your mother was supposed to not have you, her doctors told her to get rid of you. That didn't make me feel very good. And she died when I was 4. Yep, she never got out of bed. But what was it like for her to be pregnant, being told that by her doctor, with an autoimmune disease that was killing her? So those were the stress hormones that I was being developed in, right? That's in like my genetic makeup. No surprise, I got 4 autoimmune diseases, right? So I noticed when I was doing a lot of healing codes, I mean, I did everything that I do with my clients, I did. I noticed fatigue, pain came up. It was the releasing, just like any other detoxing. So what did I do? I backed off, just like you might if you were detoxing your liver. Okay, let's back off a little bit. Maybe that's a little too much. Maybe, right? So I would, instead of 3 times a day, I would do it once a day. Or I just like for 2 days didn't do it and just let my body like be. And then I took it on. And it might seem like, are you kidding? It's just prayer. But if you're really intentional, we're moving energy, you're moving energy. So the energy's been stuck. So if you notice anything, just give yourself some grace. Give yourself, like, just do what feels right. Do I want to take a break today and tomorrow? Do I want to just do it once a day? Do I want to do it for 2 minutes instead of 6 minutes? Whatever feels right. Just do what's right for your body. But, if you can be consistent over time, it's going to help, along with, the heart math stuff that we talked about yesterday. There's a lot of ways to move energy out of your body. This is one from a spiritual perspective that helps. So any question on any of that? Like, I'm not sure how to do it, or, okay. Write up your own truth statements. This is recorded, so you can listen to this. I just say what comes into my head as I'm doing it, but do it pertinent to your issues pertinent to you, or like Barbie, you have pain, you could focus for 6 minutes just saying truth statements around pain, or go to each part of your body. That's, spend a whole loop on your neck and shoulders saying, like, see the light come in, move through every cell, move through your bones. Okay, then go to the next one. Try that if that feels good. Okay. I always do a lot on my thyroid and my liver and my digestive system when I'm doing physical stuff.
Mine is actually sternum area, the ribs and the back and the shoulders. I mean, it started in the sternum, and I don't know why. I don't know what's causing that. It's not my stomach per se. It's more up in
The bones.
it's and it's like in this area, And I mean, it's pain that I can't sit and I can't drive anymore. So it's limiting me in many capacities, not just, one. When I was a very active person and worked a full-time job and everything. So,
Thanks.
I mean,
Eden just was saying she was leaving. Yeah. So were you able to, even if you can't do it as long as we did it today, just do it 2 minutes, do it a few times throughout the day. There's so many frames that we could look at your body. And I know that you've had a lot of testing done, or, they're trying to figure out what the issues are, but you could look at from an energetic level, like the energy centers. Right there is your solar plexus, which is your power in the world, right?
right here.
Yeah, so when you look at the 7 energy centers, the bottom one is the root chakras. Maybe you've heard of chakras. I say energy centers because sometimes people have a response to chakras, but 7 energy centers. So it's your root, which is the tailbone. It's like the sexual organs, the tailbone, right, where you're grounded. Then the next one is like below your belly button. It's the digestive system. Then where you're pointing to is the solar plexus, which is right below where the ribs come together. That's your power in the world. That's like, have you had the ability in your life to speak freely, authentically who you are? Did your parents, did you grow up in a household? I'm not saying you did, I don't know, but like sometimes people who have issues there grew up in a household, children are seen and not heard, or an abusive father, or I don't know, whatever, or they marry somebody who like doesn't allow them to be who they are.
Well,
So,
I have family issues.
I'm sorry?
I have a lot of family issues.
Yeah. So that's when energy is getting stuck in that center. It's the result of those things. So, work on that with the healing codes. Release what happened when you were in a childhood. Like see if you can do that as part of the healing codes.
Now, I didn't find the healing codes or the heart map. I'm not sure where that is. I looked on the Facebook.
Did you register? Did you get an email? Because everybody who went through that link is tagged in my emails. Now I'm going to act like I know technology, but this is what I know. Everybody got tagged. So when I go in there, I see there's 29 people who got tagged. And then that whole 29 people get each email around this.
I looked at each email that you sent. What was the subject line of that email?
That one was let's try again, because I was trying to get the links right. Something like that. Let's try again.
I did get 2 of them, as a matter of fact, but that had the subject line, let's try again.
So they should be on there, the links. When you scroll down, you don't see, here's the recording from this.
I did get the form where you were supposed to respond to 70 some.
That's a link email. It says healing codes here. Click on that link and the questionnaire will come up.
Oh, okay. Then I did get.
And that's been the problem for me, is that the links were not embedding correctly in the emails. I don't know why. but they weren't. But I think now they should, because everybody else could do the questionnaire, right? So that link should work. So it says healing codes here, just hit that. And then the questionnaire will come, you'll fill it out and you'll get a response. And they give you like a several page response. Some of it might be like, yeah, I knew this about myself. And some of it might be like, oh, I didn't really realize that. And it's just an insight into where your heart, we call it heart armor. We create heart armor to protect ourselves from where we've been hurt, you know, and then as we build up that heart armor, now we're affecting, as we're learning, the heart affects everything. So when you create heart armor around due to what's happened to you, that's affecting your immune system, your ability to heal, all of that. It's scary. It's when you've lived with heart armor, it is scary to say, I'm going to dismantle the armor and I'm going to be out in the world open-hearted.
Sure
It's
is.
not. Yeah, Kat?
Question. The exercise that you just took us through, and then you were talking about doing something 3 times a day for 30 days or whatever, is that the exercise that we should do, or is there more than that?
Well, there are more healing codes, but you can just stick with that. That would be powerful. Those are the 4, it's called universal codes, and they hit the 4 main places. And, you know, 6 to 8 minutes a day, or if you're not feeling up to it, 3 minutes a day. You know, you can combine it right with the heart math breathing. So you could do 3 minutes of heart math breathing and then go right into healing codes.
Yeah, that was really powerful. I mean, I started out in fear with the 10, and at the end of it, I didn't feel any fear. I felt a sense of peace and calm.
Yes, that's the goal.
Yeah, that was really nice.
I'm so glad that your nervous system is now like, oh, I haven't felt peace and calm in a while, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So the more you do it, the more you get yourself there and you stay there. And then tomorrow, we're going to be talking about belief systems and thoughts and how those things are shaping our body and how we can look at things differently. So we can actually, now the next thing that happens, we're not right back into being angry at someone. Okay.
Now, yesterday after our session, I usually can't walk like a block without absolutely being drained. I mean, completely fatigued. And yesterday I did. I like tried to sing and hum and you know, just, and I did walk farther.
See, this is like, now I'm gonna cry, because this is like, there are people living, how many of us are living sick and unwell and scared and fearful? It's not how we're supposed to live. And it's possible in one time, you notice, you know, that's to me a significant difference. What if you did, I'm telling you, this man cured ALS. People don't cure ALS. People die from ALS. He's and medication free for years now. Every day for 3 months, he did healing codes, you know, and that's not the only tool that we use. I'm trying to teach you several so that you've got options, and some things resonate with people more than others, or on one given day, you might go, I feel like breathing. On another day, you're like, you know, I think it's good to do everything every day, but whatever, you're not meant to live the way you're living, Barb. And the fact that you can already in one day see a difference.
The thing is, mine seemed to start when I started a medication taper. And I mean, that's when everything just hit me. And I don't understand if it comes from way back. I keep thinking it's this medication that has affected my brain. And, you know,
That may be. Let me put it in this perspective for you, and you can think about this for tomorrow. We all have buckets, or a bucket that will only hold so much. And then at some point, our buckets are full, and there's just that one thing that's more than, you know, your bucket can handle. So it could be the medicate, you know, and what brings stress into our body, our thoughts, our emotions, what happens to us. There's chemical stresses in the environment, there's pesticides, there's mold exposure. All of those are stressors. If somebody has a nervous system that's calm and an immune system that's working, then when they get a medication or they're exposed to mold, it's not a big deal. They can handle the Lyme disease because their immune system's working the way it's supposed to. But when they're stuck in fight or flight and their nervous system isn't working and their immune system is going, okay, I guess I got to shut down because I'm in fight or flight all the time. Now Lyme shows up and their body can't clear it. Why does one person get a cancer and recover and the other person dies? It's all of that comes into the picture. So what we can do is if we can start to clear it out, calm it down, reset the nervous system. Now, when you get exposed to these things, you've got the tools that God gave us. God gave us a system that works. But
Like
we-
I medication for 25 years and it worked fine. I tried to taper it. I tried to go off of it, and that's when everything started. And just last week, then they added Lexapro to it. And I didn't want to go on it, but I just felt like I didn't have a choice. I mean, I was in so much pain. I don't know.
I'm sorry you're in pain like that. What I hope too that you could get to see even in just these couple of days together is that you have a lot of control over your body. So we're told in our culture, we have a lot of doctors, oh, nope, you're never going to heal from that. Oh, nope, you got to take this. Oh, no, this is how we treat that. And you have a lot of control and a lot of intuition. When we start to tap in and use these tools, you'll learn how to take care of your body, you know, better. But at any rate, I'm really, really thrilled that you noticed some improvement yesterday, Kathy, that you like, that's a huge shift. So that's really great. I will put this recording in the Facebook group under guides. That's where I'll load it up, and we'll have it for several days before it'll get taken down so that you can re-listen again and you can create your own healing codes if you'd like to. And then tomorrow, however you got here, same link. I'm like scared to send anything out. I got to tell you the truth. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm scared to send anything out and wondering if people will get it. But you know what I would appreciate if you felt so called to is in that group, you don't have to share anything detailed or specifically personal, but the people who have given up trying or like I couldn't get through, if you wanted to share something like, you know, so far the challenge has been great. I don't know why I call it a challenge, whatever it is. So far it's been great. I learned this, or I got a tool that really helped me even in one day, just something so that people are like, oh, maybe the next time she runs that, I'll jump back on or whatever. If you feel so inclined, don't worry about it if you don't. But I feel badly that 29 people enrolled and because of these email issues, like, you know, they're not here. So that's, I don't know what to do about it, but okay. So tomorrow, same link. We're going to go a little bit from a whole different angle now. We're going to go into mindset, belief patterns, things like that. Okay, so we're going to leave the physiology a bit. We're going to leave the science and talk a bit more about transformation. Okay? So awesome. Have a great rest of your day. Kathy, I know I need to call you. Let me just get caught up here and then I'll send you how about I just call you at, I don't know, 3 o'clock? Awesome. Okay, I'll call you at 3. Ciao.